Ready to ditch those tourist traps and really uncover Kyoto?
I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're diving into City of the Day from Travel Deep Dive and getting into what makes Kyoto so special. It's not just some dusty old city frozen in time. We're talking ancient traditions thriving in a modern city.
Yeah, it's amazing how they've managed to blend the old and new so seamlessly. It's not just seeing history there, you're practically living it.
Right. It's like stepping back in time, but you still have your phone to Instagram it all. I mean, over 1,000 years as Japan's capital. That blows my mind.
It's a long time to perfect that blend of tradition and modernity.
And it shows. Our source mentions 1717 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Plus, Kyoto was mostly spared during World War II.
That's a really important point. It means what you're experiencing is authentic.
Not some rebuilt replica.
Exactly. When you walk those streets, you're walking in the footsteps of emperors and shoguns, seeing buildings that have stood for centuries. There's a weight to that history you can practically feel.
No kidding. It's almost overwhelming to think about. Okay, speaking of incredible places, let's talk about those must-see spots, but with a twist. First up, Kinkaku-ji, the Golden Pavilion. A temple covered in gold leaf.
Talk about a showstopper.
Right, but here's the thing.
You'd think it had to be ancient.
It wasn't even originally a temple.
It was a shogun's villa. Retirement gold, right?
Wow, just wow.
But it actually illustrates a big part of Japanese aesthetics.
Have you heard of wabi-sabi?
I feel like I have, but a little refresher wouldn't hurt.
Basically, it's about finding beauty in imperfection, in the impermanence of things. Okay, I think I'm getting it, but how does a gold-plated pavilion fit into that? It seems pretty darn perfect to me.
Because even something as perfect as Kinkaku-ji will eventually change, fade. Nothing lasts forever. That's the essence of wabi-sabi.
Wow, I never thought of it like that. Next up on our whirlwind tour, Fushimi Inari Taisha. Thousands of those bright red torii gates winding up the mountain. It's like something out of a dream.
It's not just what you see, though. It's that feeling you get walking through those gates, like each one is a step back in time.
So it's more about the experience than just snapping a pic.
Definitely. It's a journey through centuries of history and spirituality.
Wow, I can only imagine. Okay, and for a totally different vibe, we have to talk about Arashiyama Bamboo Grove. I mean, picture this. Towering stalks of bamboo swaying in the breeze, the sun filtering through the leaves.
It's a sensory overload in the best possible way. You've got the visual spectacle, that unique sound of the wind rustling through the bamboo, even the cool air on your skin.
It's like stepping into another world.
Absolutely.
And then there's that iconic Togetsukyo Bridge and the Tenryuji Temple nearby. It's like the perfect blend of nature and spirituality. And speaking of atmosphere, we can't forget about Gion, the geisha district. Now, you might catch a glimpse of a geisha, but it's really about soaking up the atmosphere of the place.
Exactly. Cobblestone streets, lantern light, those beautiful traditional wooden buildings.
Yeah.
It's like taking a step back in time.
Like you stumble into old Kyoto and who knows what you'll find.
And every tea house there probably has centuries worth of stories, traditions, and performances happening within its walls.
And finally, for a view that'll take your breath away, Kiyomizu-dera Temple. It's up on a hillside, and that's where the magic happens.
It's not just about the temple itself.
You're there for that panoramic view of the city, especially during cherry blossoms or autumn leaf seasons. It's breathtaking.
It's almost like they planned it that way, putting the temple up high so you could really appreciate how the city sits within the natural landscape. Gives you this whole new perspective.
Okay, but we've covered the landmarks. Now here's where it gets even cooler. Because Kyoto is so much more than just temples.
It's about really experiencing those traditions firsthand.
Right, not just reading about them in a guidebook.
Exactly.
And this is where City of the Day really digs deep into Kyoto's identity as this hub for traditional Japanese crafts.
It's incredible, right? It's like stepping into a living museum.
Totally. Tell me you don't want to learn how to make Kiyomizu pottery after you see those distinctive designs.
Oh, absolutely. Or the Nishijin textiles.
Yeah.
Those incredibly intricate weaving techniques. And the coolest part, you can actually visit workshops, see these crafts happening right in front of you.
That's what I love. It's not hidden away behind museum glass. It's the real deal being made right there. Okay, speaking of history coming alive, we have to talk about the Kyoto Imperial Palace. It might not be the emperor's home anymore, but it's still such a powerful symbol.
Totally. It's a reminder that for over 1,000 years, Kyoto was the heart of Japan. And you can actually tour it, get a real feel for what imperial life was like.
It's amazing to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's not just grand palaces, right? It's also those everyday traditions that make Kyoto so special.
So true. The source talks about the importance of things like the tea ceremony and ikebana, the art of flower arranging,
Uh,
and those are still such a big part of life in Kyoto.
Totally. They're woven into the fabric of daily life. Think about it. A traditional tea ceremony. It's about so much more than just drinking tea, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels almost meditative.
Exactly. It's mindfulness, respect, appreciating the moment, values that are super important in Japanese culture.
And it's not just stuck in some tea house either. I read that modern tea houses are popping up all over, offering a new spin on those traditions.
That's so cool. And it's the same with Ikebana. You see it everywhere in homes, restaurants, even shops.
I love that, bringing those traditions into everyday life.
Yeah, it's about finding beauty and balance in nature, even in the middle of the city. It's about that sense of peace and tranquility. And I think that's something we could all use a bit more of, don't you?
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of peace and tranquility, don't even get me started on how in tune Kyoto is with the changing seasons.
Right. It's like the whole city transforms.
Totally. Festivals, the food, even what people wear. It's incredible how much the seasons influence life in Kyoto.
It's really woven into the city's identity. Like the source mentions Hanami, the cherry blossom viewing in the spring.
It's more than just looking at pretty flowers, though, right?
Oh, yeah. It's a huge deal. The whole city celebrates. Picnics under the blossoms, poetry readings. It's amazing.
It sounds magical.
It really is. It's all about savoring those fleeting moments of beauty, appreciating how temporary life is. And then in autumn, you've got Koyo, where everyone's focused on those incredible fiery maple leaves.
Oh, yeah, those temples all lit up at night to really make the leaves pop. Talk about magical. It's like the whole city comes alive with the rhythm of the seasons.
It really is something else.
It makes you realize how disconnected we are from that in most of the world.
Totally.
Okay, but speaking of those rhythms, we can't forget about the food.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention the food.
Because City of the Day talks about kaiseki.
That traditional Japanese multi-course dinner.
Yeah, and it's not just dinner, though, is it? It's more like an art form.
It really is. The freshest seasonal ingredients presented beautifully with such care. There's a balance to it, a harmony. It's like the essence of Kyoto all on your plate.
It's like eating a poem, and each dish is a different part of the season. Man, it makes me hungry.
Me too.
But it just shows you, again, how Kyoto isn't stuck in the past. It's found this really amazing way to blend those old traditions with modern life.
It's such a fascinating mix of old and new. Like you can wander down an ancient street lined with traditional wooden machiya houses, and then bam, around the corner there's this cutting-edge art gallery.
Right. It's like a surprise around every corner. That's what makes exploring Kyoto so incredible. But it also makes you wonder, how does a city with so much history adapt and evolve without losing its soul?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it goes back to those traditions being so deeply ingrained in everyday life.
So it's not about desperately clinging to the past.
Not at all. It's about finding ways to bring those traditions into the present, to make them relevant to modern life.
So it's less about preservation and more about evolution.
Exactly. Finding fresh ways to share those core values, those aesthetics, with new generations. Kyoto shows that it's possible to move forward without sacrificing your heritage.
It's like this blueprint for navigating the future, but without forgetting where you came from. Wow. So, given everything we've talked about today, what do you think the future holds for this incredible city?
It really makes you think, how do you maintain that balance?
That dance between tradition and modernity.
Especially in a world that's changing so fast.
It's a huge challenge, but if any city can pull it off, I have a feeling Kyoto can.
I think so too. It's a city that knows how to reinvent itself without losing sight of who it is, and that's really something special.
Absolutely. And on that note, we come to the end of our deep dive into the heart of Kyoto. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to book a flight and experience it all for myself.
Me too. Who knows, maybe we'll run into each other at a modern tea house sipping matcha, enjoying a perfectly arranged ikebana.
I love it. To all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey to discover the real Kyoto. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those minds curious.